Belichick's going to become the oldest coach, supplanting Tom Coughlin, who was 65 when he beat the Patriots in Super Bowl 46. And there it is. The dynasty continues.
Sean McVay with a great season. Just ran into a tough one today. Physical game, two physical teams.
Who do you like for MVP?
I like Julian Edelman.
Tracy's in there.
And that was the New England Patriots winning Super Bowl 53. Welcome into the show, guys. It's Views from the Sideline, February 5th, 2019. The NFL season is over. And yet again, the New England Patriots are champions.
Not one.
Not two.
Not two. Not even three. What's after three, Joey?
What
What's
about
three?
four? What about four?
4.
What's after that?
5?
Not even 5. 6 rings, ladies and gentlemen. GOAT status.
Remember when this guy said the Patriots had no chance of winning round 1 in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's what it
Man,
looked
that
like.
tune.
That's exactly what it looked like.
You used to believe.
They became a new team in the
here's the
playoffs,
thing,
and
here's
I
the thing.
admire that.
Here's the thing. They didn't become a new team. They played better. They have more playoff-capable players than regular season players than any other team. Brady's a playoff. He's a playoff guy. Belichick's a playoff guy. Gronk's a playoff player. Edelman's going to turn it up in the playoffs. The Rams have a lot of regular season guys.
They got a lot of young guys, too.
That's
And a
another thing, too. That's
33-year-old
why
coach.
when I predicted the Patriots to win, I think we all pick the Patriots to win?
Yeah.
I thought Sean McVay's 33 years old. He's a young coach. He's phenomenal, but he's going to have to go through some bumps in the road to become one of the best, which I think he'll get there one day. But going up against Belichick and Brady, it was a tough task for him to do, and the Patriots got it done. So they won 13-3 in a very exciting offensive game that was just explosive in every single quarter, every single facet.
Isn't this the lowest scoring Super Bowl ever?
Lowest scoring Super Bowl
Wait,
ever.
we're talking about
And-
this Super Bowl?
And
I was watching
So
a
it
different
is-
game.
so
then.
it-
lowest ratings in the past 10 years, too, which is very
Yep, it's the
good.
lowest rating in the past 10 years, lowest scoring Super Bowl ever. Was this the most boring Super Bowl ever?
Yes.
First, I'm gonna go with the overall Super Bowl experience first because
Okay.
this was a weird year. The commercials weren't strong.
I feel like we
The
say that every
halftime
year.
show
The
wasn't
commercials.
strong.
The commercials have been fading for a while. Not gonna
There
lie.
have been at least 2 or 3 commercials every year that I think are really, really good.
And the
this
other
year,
problem,
there's not one commercial I can remember. Honestly, there's not one memorable commercial from this Sunday.
but the other problem with commercials is like with the internet these days, they play them a week prior, and you know what all the commercials are. And
Well,
then,
they preview them a week prior.
right, and then you're like, I've
What's
seen
the
this
point?
before.
Yeah.
I've
And
seen-
honestly, the previews for the commercials were more exciting than the actual commercials
Right.
this Sunday. The halftime show, Maroon 5 has a few hits, but
What about
Nah.
Travis Scott? He was
it
terrible.
should have been the
was
SpongeBob
ter-
tribute.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot
yeah,
of
they ruined it.
lot of letdowns, but as a football nerd, I appreciate this 13-3 game.
You say you appreciate it?
I appreciate it.
No.
Bill
Why?
Belichick's best coaching performance since what he did as a coordinator in 1990 when the Giants beat the Bills. Yeah, that's how a lot of people feel.
That's the
That is
people.
how a lot
That's
of
the
people
how many
feel.
people agree with you? Right
Most people feel that way. The Super Bowl, I think you both can agree on me with this. The Super Bowl is really mainly a general football fan event.
Yeah, for sure.
Football fanatics, they pay attention all day, every day, regular season, every single game. Super Bowl, that's when everybody comes together and watches. Of
Fair
course,
point,
this was
fair point.
extremely boring. This was a general football fans all come together. Oh, they know Tom Brady. They don't know Sean McVay. They only know about Todd Gurley because of fantasy football and
to know about the
But-
Rams because of LA.
Yeah, they don't appreciate coaching down to what it. Going into halftime, it was 3-0. General fans are like, "Oh, this game sucks. Let's turn it off."
So
I said Belichick knows exactly what he's doing right now, and this is a genius at work. That's what I was noticing.
So you're saying to football nerds like yourself, this was a very exciting football game. This is not boring.
Not exciting, but you could appreciate what was going on.
Okay, so for the general fan,
Oh, it sucked.
because I turned this game off, I'll be 100% honest. After halftime,
What point did you turn it off?
after halftime that they didn't play Sweet Victory all the way through, and a lot of people argued, how could they not get they have to get copyright for that.
They didn't even play Sweet.
Come
Sweet.
on,
They just
it's
played
the Super
sicko
Bowl.
mode. And
They
showed
coulda-
the
they
clip
coulda
of
gotten that.
SpongeBob, yeah.
That would have made halftime for me, but it didn't, and they turned it off right as sicko mode started, and I was very disappointed. So early in the third quarter, I decided to turn it off, and I didn't finish the Super Bowl. I'll be 100% honest, and that's the first time in a long time that I've not watched it.
You
So
missed another game-winning drive.
for the general fan, because I understand kind of what you're saying, but I didn't feel like it was a super I didn't feel like Belichick was so good to the point that that's what was why the game turned out so low scoring. And I feel like he was a part of it, but so for the general fan, let us know exactly what you saw Belichick do that made it appreciated so that other people can know.
Well, a coach on Belichick's level, first of all, it's one of the main reasons why we picked the Patriots in this game. Sean McVay is 33. Bill Belichick is 66. Not only an age gap, Belichick has Super Bowls. Belichick has been around. He's been in the NFL coaching since the late 70s, early 80s. His level of intelligence in this game is just far ahead of what Sean McVay has, who right now is one of the most, he's the young, hot guy in coaching that's coming for everybody, which is exciting. People expected LA to put up a whole bunch of points. Bill Belichick came in with a game plan that shut that down. And with a coach of that stature going against a coach that is in his first Super Bowl and is just experiencing all of this winning and all of this excitement, you can short circuit, you can rethink things in the middle of a game, and you can completely mess up what your team has been doing all year that has made you who you are, which is an explosive team that puts points on the board. You run through Todd Gurley, and then you go through play action with Jared Goff, an extremely accurate quarterback who was also in his first Super Bowl and looked like a young quarterback in his first Super Bowl. So experience, that high-level intelligence rules in the end. Sean McVay wasn't ready. Jared Goff wasn't ready. Everybody was going back and forth on the Todd Gurley healthy, unhealthy thing.
He wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
He wasn't healthy. Let's just call it how it is.
Giving him 25 carries wouldn't have been the best thing because it still wouldn't have led to much.
Yeah.
I mean, it just showed the level at which Tom Brady and Bill Belichick function on, even though Tom Brady didn't have a good game, honestly. But when it came down to it, Tom Brady said, I'm going to win this. 4 plays, give it to Sony Michel, touchdown, and that pretty much wrapped it up.
Let me ask you guys both. This is an open-ended question for both of you guys. What is the significance of Tom Brady winning ring number 6? What does it mean? What is the significance to him as a player and his legacy? What is the significance to the sport of football?
Well, for football, I think it makes him, we talk about GOATs in basketball all the time, and there's always a lot of debate these days. But I think in football, I think Tom Brady has sealed his position as the GOAT. And as far as sports goes, he's one of the best winners of all time. Probably in the top 5. I don't know my list. We'd have to think about it, but for sure you could put him in the top 5 as far as winners go.
That's a great show idea, by the way, Joe.
Yeah. Just athletes, sports.
Top 5 winners
Winners.
coming soon this summer.
Yeah.
Yes.
When we have our
definitely
summer countdowns, yeah, for sure. But yeah, it's a big thing for football, for his legacy, obviously, and it is a big thing for sports too.
Malik?
I echo everything he just said. Plus,
What a cop out.
I'm
Let me just
gonna
call it how it
continue-
is. What a cop
I'm gonna
out.
continue Thank you very much. So before Tom Brady hit this 6 rings, the only person that was at 5 was Charles Haley, and he wasn't a journeyman defensive end, but he was a defensive end. Won 3 with the 49ers in their heyday, then won 2 with the Cowboys at their highest point. A guy that won 5 with 2 different teams. A lot of football fans don't even know who Charles Haley is. That shows how much the significance of one guy winning at the highest level, like so many times in the NFL. A lot of people don't even know the name of Charles Haley. He was at the top with 5. And then you have, in terms of franchises, the fact that Pittsburgh had 5 Super Bowls was huge. When they won 5, when Jerome Bettis, actually it was 6 that they got. It was the one for the thumb when Pittsburgh won the Super Bowl in 2005. So yeah, individual winning has never been at this high of a level, and it never has been recognized at this high of a level. So Tom Brady has set new ground. This is a level that will be chased for years upon years. We might not see another quarterback do this in our lifetime. Tom Brady is special. He's in a different category. We haven't seen a quarterback accomplish stuff like this, and it's just different. He's a different type of person.
Yeah. We talk about how I think we can all agree that Tom Brady is greatest of all time at the position of quarterback and football player overall. We can all agree on that. Can we agree that Bill Belichick is the greatest NFL coach of all time?
I think at this point, yes.
Yeah, I would think so too.
Do you guys have anybody else that you'd throw up there with him?
I mean,
If there's any debate?
If there's any debate, honestly, at this point, I don't think there's a debate. There's no coach you can put over him at this point. What he's done with the New England Patriots weren't a legendary, historic franchise in the NFL.
Yeah.
Until now.
What he did taking over, he got his head coaching opportunities with the Cleveland Browns. He did a solid job there.
He had a week with the Jets.
Yeah, a week with the Jets, left there. People weren't sure about Bill Belichick. He takes over a franchise that Bill Parcells took them to a Super Bowl. He's been in the conversation of top 3 all time for years. He takes over pretty much. He had been riding Bill Parcells' coattails for years, honestly. He was his understudy. People questioned if Bill Belichick could jump over him. What he took over this franchise in his second year as their head coach, beat the greatest show on turf, a team that they had no business beating in the St. Louis Rams. And ever since then, it's been year in, year out domination in the NFC East. They're expected to almost make the Super Bowl every year, and I don't think any coach has done something like that. Besides what Bill Walsh with the 49ers in the 80s, you expected them to be in the Super Bowl all the time. Bill Walsh is pretty much top 5, maybe top 3, but yeah, I don't think any other coach can touch Bill Belichick now.
Do you guys have anything else you want to add in as we recap the Super Bowl here? I think we touched on most things. Brady, Belichick, boring game. Football nerds liked it.
How will the Rams respond next year after this?
I think they're
question for me.
honestly, we have to wait to see how the offseason shakes out. To me, they're my prime candidate to win the Super Bowl next year.
I'm honestly not sure about that because this showed McVay, as young as he is, and Jared Goff as young as he is, they weren't ready at all for this moment.
But I think that's going to fuel them, though.
Will a year difference change everything?
I think so.
They're still extreme. They still have so much learning to do.
But here's the thing. That team is so much more talented than the Patriots. The Patriots just outworked them, outsmarted them. Yeah. And if you're the Rams looking at yourselves, you're like, we just have to have a better mindset. And I think that's the biggest key, a better mindset going into things. Now you're more prepared. Now you know what the stage is like. Now you know playing these big-time games. The Super Bowl is different than the AFC or NFC championship game. It really is. It's a different type of field. But yeah, that's why I think the Rams are primed next year for.
I feel like that was the biggest disappointment for me, is that not only was this game low scoring, but it just felt like the Rams had literally no energy. You're in the biggest game of your life, and you're just out there walking around.
The defense had energy.
They looked drained.
The offense looked lost.
Immediately.
The offense looked lost. The pressure.
Which is sad because, like I said, this is the biggest stage in football. This is where so many guys wish they could be right now. And it's like they didn't put anything into it. And I know like it's hard going up against the Patriots. Let's not deny that. But this is your time to go against them and say, hey, we can beat these guys. And they just never showed it. And that's part of the reason that I didn't like this game at all is not necessarily like it didn't feel like both teams were making big stops and it was like a so dominantly defensive game. It just seemed like there was no energy involved in one of the biggest game of the year.
Yeah. Well, that's gonna do it. Let's wrap this baby up and move on to college basketball.
Lions to the playoffs next year.
I was just gonna say the Lions are no threat to the Rams, so they
Super
don't have to
Bowl
worry
54?
about Detroit.
Super Bowl 54, Detroit Lions. Belichick did say the Lions played a significant role in how they beat the Rams.
Yeah.
Super Bowl
Because
54.
Gronk wouldn't go to Detroit.
yeah.
Huge role. Yeah.
Anyways, though, let's transition to the
Gronk
only
is a
two
smart
good
man.
teams in the state, the Michigan Wolverines and the Michigan State Spartans.
Are they?
There's yes. Yes.
Are they though?
By the standards of state of Michigan sports, these guys are far and above. Michigan dropped in the rankings. They're down to number 7 now, following a loss at Iowa, probably the worst loss of the year, 74-59. That's tough. What went wrong there, Malik?
What went wrong was, well, first thing is they don't have the defensive intensity they showed early in the season. And I don't know if it's a thing of them just being drained as a team or overworking. I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure it's not overworking because Beeline is intelligent and knows exactly what buttons to press and what to do with his team. But there are certain arenas, certain places you play at when you go on the road in the Big Ten, certain places that are just uncomfortable. The home team has an advantage. I think Iowa is one of those teams. And another thing is they have a quality team right now. They're another ranked Big Ten team that could make the tournament out of the predicted 7 or 8 teams that could make the tournament out of the Big Ten. But Iowa, they had it going from the beginning. Their system on offense worked. Their main players had it going from the beginning. Fran McCaffrey had an idea of putting all of Michigan's big men on their best player, and Tyler Cook, who's their power forward, big, athletic, skilled guy. Every time they singled up Tyler Cook and one of Michigan's big men, it ended up in a foul. And that got Teskey into foul trouble quickly, Livers into foul trouble quickly, and then you have to start shuffling with rotations. That messed up the offensive and defensive flow. And then there was also Iowa's offensive execution was off the charts in this game. Not only were they executing at a high level, they were hitting the tough shots. Every player had it going. I think their 6th man had a career high of like 10 or 11 points going into this game. He ended with like 16 and 11, shooting like 7 of 8 shooting. Everybody had everything going. Their confidence was sky high. Iowa just had it going, and there was no stopping. Every time Michigan, there were a few times in the second half where they had runs where they get within 6 or 7 points. Iowa would punch right back with 2 straight threes or and ones. There was no stopping Iowa in this game. They just played maybe their best game of the season.
Joey, are you concerned for the Wolverines after 2 losses in their last 6-7 games?
I'm getting just a little bit concerned. Mostly the way that they're losing. It seems like, for the most part, that if they get punched in the mouth right at the beginning of the game, they're done. They seem to struggle a lot coming back. And, I mean, we've seen them, kind of like Malik said, they tried to make a comeback against Iowa, but something about them being down and not being able to completely lock down a team on defense from behind.
That and offensive droughts.
Yeah, is a little bit concerning.
And Charles Matthews
was awful in this game.
Is something wrong?
I think,
now
did he
with him.
finish like 1 of 10 or something?
He was like 2 of he hit a few shots in the second half when it's like started to not matter.
Yeah, it was bad.
He was 0 of 10 from
and
the
he's
start.
the guy that I previously said I needed him to step up. So he still needs to step up. He took more shots, I guess, this game, but they weren't good, and it just didn't look so good. So they need to get back down to their cores of playing hard defense getting transition buckets and setting up their offense well. And it looks like right now they need to get off to a good start. It seems like a lot of these games, when they get going, nobody in the country can beat them. But if they fall behind early, they struggle a little bit. So that's a little bit concerning that they can't necessarily come back from things, because we know that in the tournament, teams are going to be coming ready to play.
They can come back, but it's hard.
Right.
certain
That's what I mean.
teams,
They
Certain
kind of struggle.
Certain matchups, it'll be a lot harder to come back.
Right. Especially tournament time.
What about MSU? We talked last week about the Purdue loss. That was big, and we were a little bit concerned because they did not look good in that game at all. They followed that up with a 79-75 loss at Indiana, or at home against Indiana. That's the worst loss of the season between both of those teams.
I don't think so.
What's worse?
Michigan just losing to Iowa was worse.
No.
No.
Yeah, it was.
No.
Michigan got beat by a good amount. State
Getting-
barely lost to Indiana, and we
Indiana's
already
on
know
the-
that
but-
Indiana is a good team.
Come on now.
Joe.
We know that Indiana is a
We
good
know
team.
that we know they're a talented team.
They almost
That
beat
shows
Michigan.
good signs.
They almost beat Michigan.
Joe.
So that's a telltale sign right
they
there.
didn't really almost beat Michigan.
Yes, they did.
That first matchup,
Hold on.
Michigan was in control. The second matchup, Indiana
were-
didn't
Joey,
show up.
they were close.
They are a very talented team that shows signs
That's what I'm
of a
saying.
good team.
But they just.
So that's a team that you always have to look out for.
But here's the thing: they're on a 7-game losing streak at the time.
Purdue was playing terrible too, and now look where they're going. They're going the opposite direction. Indiana has one of the better players in the country in Romeo Langford.
who is up and down completely.
Exactly,
throughout the season.
and with him being up and down, that's how that team rolls. I don't think that a 4-point loss.
But Romeo didn't even have that great of a game. Yeah, he had 19
Right.
points, but he was shot 6 of 18 from the floor. So it's not him being the
Exactly. So that
singular
even shows you
factor.
even more that team is better than they're performing. So to only
They can be better.
they
than
only
they're
won
performing.
by 4 points, and as we've seen, Michigan State has struggled in a lot of games.
And Michigan State has also dominated a lot of games.
But
in a
here's the
lot of
thing- but
different other
here's the thing,
games.
too. Michigan
This
State.
is no way the worst loss between the two teams.
Yes, it is.
There's no way.
Yes, it
They did
is.
it at home too. That's
Iowa,
another
No.
thing.
Iowa is a
It's
much better
A
team than
4-point loss.
Indiana.
You guys say it all the time. The Big Ten is a tough
It is
conference.
It is. It is.
So how is a 4-point
conference.
loss to a
It's
tough
way-
team?
Because of the
problem.
situations the teams are in right now. Michigan State, everybody thought that Purdue loss, that means nothing. They're just going to roll after this. Indiana's
And then-
coming off a 7-game losing streak and looks awful. They have no momentum of anything.
And they got
Michigan,
everything to go
Michigan
against them.
State should have just moved through this game. And it was a home game. That's another big thing.
I don't
This-
think a 4-point
this was
loss is a
home-
bad problem.
It's not the fact
And
that it's
they're
a
a
4-point
concerning
loss.
team, but
It's not the fact
definitely
that it's a 4-point
you
loss.
cannot say that it's the worst loss between those teams. To
Then-
lose
listen,
4 by 4
Then you add in the fact
to Indiana.
that Langford is out for the season. If Nick Ward doesn't score, he's looking useless. If Matt McQuaid doesn't score, he doesn't have much of a factor. Cassius Winston isn't a guy that can just go get buckets when you need him to. This is concerning.
Yeah, the team is concerning. That's their
it's-
problem.
it's a-
It's not an
it's a
Indiana
bad
problem.
loss.
It's a Michigan State problem.
It is.
So it's not
But
their worst loss
I think
because they're
it's a
having all
worse
these
loss.
issues.
It's a worse loss.
No, I don't think so.
I was just enjoying it. I was just sitting back watching
It's
you
a
guys
worse
go at
loss,
it.
man.
I don't think
Joey was getting a little heated. His face was getting red. He was as soon as we said it was the worst loss of the year. He was.
it's
going
also
red.
very warm in here, to be honest.
Excuses. Yeah, like you touched on though, Langford's out for the year. That's a big blow to MSU. And Nick Ward, we talked about this I think a couple weeks ago about how he needs to start stepping up, and he needs to start crashing the glass. That's not happening. It seems like if he doesn't have any of his offensive flow to start the game, he doesn't have that effort to finish the game, and that's probably my biggest concern for MSU, because if MSU is going to do very much this year, they need the best Nick Ward they can get.
Yes.
But yeah.
Also, if Kenny Goins didn't have a career game, that game wouldn't have gone to overtime. Kenny Goins finished with like 14, 8, 6, 8,
Just-
and 4.
Just going back to it, when they lost to Purdue by 10, Carson Edwards had a terrible game. And
Yeah.
the rest of these games, like Purdue, if Purdue doesn't get off the floor with Carson Edwards, they're a terrible team. But they won by 10 against Michigan State in this game. So,
It's different.
and Cassius Winston had a great game against Purdue, and they still
Playing
lost.
at Purdue is a lot tougher than playing at home against a 7 game losing streak Indiana. That's a different game.
It's a team that was ranked early in the season.
Yeah, because everybody coming into the season, everybody expected them to be a top 4 Big Ten team. But that things change throughout the season. Talent doesn't mean you're a great team. They're really young, and they have a lot to learn.
Joe, no response?
I just don't think it's the worst loss of the season between the two teams.
All right.
I don't have much more to say.
Yeah, let's move on. That's really all we wanted to talk about for MSU. Both teams got to step up this coming week. They've been struggling, ironically, both struggling at the same time. And we're still looking forward to that Michigan MSU game later on in the year. That's still going to be one of the better games of the year in college basketball. Let's transition to our NBA trade deadline primer. The NBA trade deadline is happening this Thursday. What is that? That is going to be February 7th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've already had some trades. After we went off the air last week, probably one of the biggest surprise trades I've seen in a very long time, and it developed very quickly on social media, on all the sports channels. Kristaps Porzingis, his time in New York, it's over. He was officially traded to Dallas last week. The Mavs acquired Porzingis along with Tim Hardaway Jr. and Trey Burke, two Michigan grads. Michigan basketball grads, and Courtney Lee in that deal as well. Knicks acquired Dennis Smith Jr., DeAndre Jordan and his expiring contract, Wesley Matthews and his expiring contract, as well as 2 first-round picks. And the one thing that has to be noted in this deal, this also opens up the Knicks in free agency this coming summer where they can sign 2 max free agents. So it's either the Knicks are just hedging their bets. Okay, we got a young point guard now, and we have 2 max slots, so that might be attractive to KD. Or they might have a little intel like KD really wants to come here. Make sure you're ready. Make sure you have another spot for a superstar. What is your first reactions when you guys heard about this trade breaking last week? I'll go Joey first, and we'll hit Malik.
My gut reaction was that I can't believe the Knicks are blowing their future again. And I felt like the Mavericks made a really good deal. But going back on it, I think it makes sense for both teams. It seemed like the Knicks were not really sure about Porzingis' future with the Knicks. I think a lot because of health problems. They're not sure if he can maybe get it done. So they're trying to hedge their bets right now and go all in for this free agency thing. And yeah, I'm kind of with you that maybe they feel that Kevin Durant has given them enough to say that he wants to come to New York. Now, the question is, can they get another guy that is a top tier, not like the Jimmy Butler?
Yeah. Wait, not a Jimmy Butler? Jimmy Butler, I think, is top tier.
Right, but I don't I think they need the top guys to be able to do something. Like I don't think they can do Kevin Durant and Jimmy Butler. I think they need the Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving.
I was going to say, do you think the Knicks front office thinks they have a chance at Kyrie with all that interesting stuff that leaked out that he is not fully committed to Boston? Do you think that's the duo they're going for this summer?
I would think so. It's the one that everybody talks about. Kyrie is a New York kid.
And they can still flip Dennis Smith in the summer and get a lot of value back from him.
Right. He's
still
roster. A former lottery pick. So,
yeah. Malik, what was your initial reaction to this surprising trade?
My initial reaction, I was completely shocked that they gave up on the Kristaps Porzingis experiment so fast. But the fact is, he didn't want to be there anymore. And parting ways.
That's a big factor, too.
Parting ways was probably the smartest thing that could have happened quick because it could have ended in an ugly situation.
Yeah.
But at this point, there are 2 things that I feel about the Knicks. First of all, I kind of feel sorry for them because
we always
they are a franchise that just lives by their name. New York. New York is the reason why everybody.
It shows what awful ownership does to a franchise.
It's the reason
it's happening in Detroit right now.
It's the reason why they're such a high-profile franchise. And at this point, they are a franchise that if they don't get 2 big free agents,
they're completely hedging their bets for this summer.
Yeah.
If they don't acquire 2 star players, I won't say Kevin Durant, let's just say 2 of those top tier free agents, they lost this trade heavily.
Exactly.
Yes, they get 2 first round picks, which is nice, but of Kristaps Porzingis' stature, that's not enough value.
You're stuck in a rut for maybe another 5 or 6 years if
Oh,
you don't
yeah.
if you don't
Big
get these
time.
free agents.
Big
But that's
time.
which is just another step back.
I think that's the
for that
biggest problem is that
franchise.
if they don't get Kevin Durant, they're still not going to be enough. They'll
I
get more of a
disagree.
talk.
Exactly.
I think it'll be enough because the East is that bad.
No,
Nah,
no,
nah.
we're seeing it right now that the East is doing fine.
Other than the top
You think
4.
like if they get
Kyrie Irving
and
in that roster
and
is
they
not
settle-
making the playoffs.
if they don't
If they
get
get-
KD, they're going to have to settle for Kyrie and Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, that's a top 5 team in the Eastern
That's
Conference.
not a top 5 team in the
Yes, it
Eastern
is.
Conference. Them two in that
The
roster
Sixers-
is not a top 5
the Sixers
team.
are
Well, there's
barely-
other moves that are going to be made.
The Sixers are barely a top 5 team, and they have more than that.
See, I think if Jimmy leaves Philly, goes to New York, it's a huge blow to Philly.
No, it obviously is,
And
but
that
it
change-
doesn't
and
put New York over.
I think New York's right there with Philly then.
Who
I
do
mean,
they
We're all
have?
talking in theatrics right,
right,
now, but,
but who else do they have? Who else do they even get? I know there is a little bit
They-
on their draft pick.
they
that
still
is
have
potential,
a top
but
5 pick coming.
Brooklyn is ahead of New York right now by accident.
You mean next year if they got 2 players? No,
I'm-
I disagree with that.
I'm just saying the point that right now Brooklyn is ahead
Yeah.
of New York by accident.
Brooklyn has done.
Yeah.
Side note, while we transition away from this, Brooklyn has done an absolutely fantastic job rebuilding the mess left by Billy King in that front office.
Yeah.
D'Angelo Russell, first off, congrats to him to being an all-star.
Yeah,
Well
big
deserved.
time.
6th seed in the Eastern Conference. They deserved an all-star. They got it.
But-
I'm all on board for Kenny Atkinson to coach the all-star game, even though it's not going to happen because you got to be the 1 seed to coach in the all-star game. But, man, Brooklyn, what a story this year.
Yeah.
and they could steal a free agent.
They could. They have a max free agency
And
spot.
that's people are starting to bring that up, is that they could be one of those people that plays spoiler to these teams, especially a team like the Knicks.
The most attractive thing about this deal to me personally as an NBA fan, the Euro duo. And Dirk also teaching Kristaps Porzingis. That's awesome as an NBA nerd. Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis are instantly my favorite duo in the NBA.
and you can
duo.
they already love the fact that they're
Oh
together
my
on
god,
a team.
this team is going to be so much fun to
They
watch
are
when they're
stepbrothers
healthy.
in real life. They just became best friends.
I already was on the Luka's the greatest of all time bandwagon, and I'm still got to this day.
Luka's the greatest.
He's going to be the
Is
greatest.
Clip it.
Not is going to.
And now he's got a partner in crime, Kristaps Porzingis, to follow up in Dirk's
Yeah.
footsteps. Man,
And
it's just an exciting time in Dallas.
you mentioned my second point that I was going to say about the
Yeah.
Knicks. I feel sorry for them, but everything they've done in the past 20 years is their fault.
Yeah.
Every single thing they've done the past 20, it's all on them.
Yeah.
Management is the worst enemy of the New York Knicks.
Until Dolan sells the team, this team's not going to win anything. Let's get to the other trade that happened of some significance. The Cleveland Cavaliers acquired Nick Stauskas, Wade Baldwin, and 2 second-round picks while shipping out Rodney Hood to the Portland Trail Blazers. Blazers get some more perimeter help in Rodney Hood. Wade Baldwin has been a bust. Stauskas has had a revival season, which he's been playing really well, and they gave up 2 second-round picks for the Blazers. They're just trying to go all in with this Lillard-McCollum backcourt, adding more help for a playoff run. What do you guys think of that deal? It doesn't move the needle for me, but I think it's a good acquirement for Portland and for Cleveland to sell off on a piece they didn't have an interest in keeping.
In my opinion, for Portland, they're acquiring the same level of player that they always acquire through free agency or trade. I would be shocked if them getting Rodney Hood made a huge difference. I don't expect it to make a huge difference. There'll probably be another first or second round team that doesn't do much.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to make
Cleveland getting more picks, that's good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Keep
I'm with
losing
Malik.
games. Yeah.
I mean, you add Rodney Hood. They have Evan Turner, Mo Harkless, Al-Farouq Aminu.
He
They're-
fits right in.
They're
with
all
that.
very similar. They're all
Yeah.
small forwards that have not really made it, but they have a little bit of a role in different spots. I thought Rodney Hood was going to be better on Cleveland.
So did I.
So I thought that this trade would have been even better if it was before I saw him play for Cleveland, and he struggled a lot. You know, maybe you get another move. Maybe he revitalizes himself back to his Utah days. But
I thought he was going to. I remember, what was it, 2 years ago before he got traded to Cleveland, I thought Rodney Hood was going to have a bounce back season and was primed for a most improved player of the year. He was that type of player. He had that type of hype coming into the 16-17 season. Let's move on, though. This is not an NBA. This is not a trade deadline note, but it is of some significance. John Wall had surgery today to repair a torn Achilles tendon, which shocked a lot of people because his injury he had surgery on prior to was a knee injury. Well, it came out that John Wall slipped and fell at his home while rehabbing this knee injury, which also got infected. That was going to add more timetable of recovery for John Wall. So he slips, falls, tears his Achilles, has surgery today for that. He's out at least 12 months without any basketball activities. He's the worst contract in the NBA. Wizards have a problem on their hands if they didn't have one before.
They could have moved him earlier. And that's unfortunate.
They cannot now. I think this is the most untradeable contract I've seen in a long time.
And it's unfortunate for both sides. It shows that professional athletes are humans, that they can slip and fall just like I do every morning.
But you don't tear your Achilles.
No, that's true, thankfully. But it also hurts for the Wizards because obviously now they're stuck with him. And as far as we know, we've seen it in the past, Achilles injuries are hard to come back from.
And John Wall is...
We've said it multiple times.
Known for his burst and his speed, and that's going to take it away. We saw what it did to Brandon Jennings.
And he's already getting older. We saw Brandon Jennings make a slight comeback, a little bit.
Very slight. He's out of the NBA now,
but,
Joe.
Like, for John Wall, he's at that age. It's going to take a year of recovery, at least, before
a year
he can
of
start.
bouncing back.
And then it's going to take at least another 6 months of just rehabbing and getting into basketball stuff. And then who knows how long after that to get him there. He's going to be up there in age, and he's not going to have the same movements. Honestly, I might say that his career is over with this one. I don't know if that's a hot take or not.
That is a hot take. That's hot, Joe. That's hot.
Do we have any Joey hot takes sound effects?
Oh my!
Do we have any?
Do we have Joey hot takes sound?
That's the hottest take. That's the hottest take of 2019 so far.
Son, I'm just gonna tell you this one time.
Yes.
You want to keep working here. Stay off the drugs.
It's the hottest take of 2019 so far.
I don't know if it's that, Joe. I don't know if it's that hot.
No, that was hot.
In my career ending, that's hot.
At the age of what, 28?
He might still play, but
might not be the same. Yeah.
He's gonna be on the ways of over 30 and not gonna have most of his game that he's used to.
All right, let's talk about the big story in the deadline. I know you guys probably haven't heard of it at all. Anthony Davis is likely getting traded, whether it's a deadline or in the offseason. Trade talk update. The Lakers and Pelicans have had multiple conversations. Lakers have offered everything.
I just heard a rumor before we started the show.
What's that?
I heard the Pelicans want Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar along with those 6 or 8 picks too.
I heard they wanted a banner too.
Exactly. One of those championships. Yeah. Should they consider it? Maybe consider it.
The banner is quite appealing.
They might want to think about it.
But anyways,
I don't know if Kareem's as good as he used to be.
It's a symbol, Joe. It's a symbol of hope. But yeah, so the Lakers have offered Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Rajon Rondo, Lance Stevenson, I think was in there too.
Michael Beasley.
Michael Beasley, and they'd get Anthony Davis and take back Solomon Hill's contract, along with also shipping out 2 first-round picks.
And 2 second rounds.
That's not enough for the Pelicans.
And the Pelicans, nah.
They said no. They want
not enough.
4 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks at least, on top of everything else they're getting.
Yeah.
See you in the summer. That's basically what this is basically becoming. We'll just trust that you come in.
The Lakers have now pulled out of their trade talks, and they're waiting for the Pelicans to make a counteroffer. I want the Pelicans to come back and say we want LeBron.
That would be if they came back and said that. That would be the funny.
That would be the Woj bomb of the year.
They're trolling the fans. They're
Doesn't
trolling
he have a no
NBA.
trade clause in his contract though?
Probably.
There's no way LeBron doesn't have a no trade.
If
clause.
I worked in the New Orleans organization, I'd pay good money to see Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka sweat.
Yeah.
Also,
yeah,
I seen a video of them sitting at a conference table, just quiet, staring at each other. That'd be amazing.
Well, here's the thing too.
What do we do?
There's been so much corruption, or not corruption is the wrong word I'm looking for. Collusion, I think, is the right word I'm looking for, not corruption.
Between the agents, players, and teams this season,
and it's probably the most talked about underlining factor in the NBA season so far. There's a lot of grudges going on, and this is just grudge-oriented between Pelicans front office and the Lakers front office because LeBron had a sit-down dinner with Anthony Davis post-game. Anthony Davis hired Rich Paul last offseason. That's ironic. Had dinner with LeBron. That's ironic. And then a couple weeks later, I want out of New Orleans.
Listen, this is just the beginning. I hope the NBA realizes that the players have their ultimate level of power right now.
And it's like no other league in the United States, in the country.
Guys
There's
like
no other league, actually, even in the world.
Guys like
Actually,
Rich Paul can control trades now. It's not just NBA. You can be outside of the league and still control stuff. Adam Silver has to be stressing this right now.
Oh, I'm sure he
has
is.
to be because they're losing control.
This is one of
while
the
outside forces are gaining it minute by minute.
This is one of the bigger issues the NBA has seen in a little bit. Even though I don't think it's talked about as much because the NBA is trying to keep it under wraps as much as possible.
And what can they do about it? Honestly,
there's not much because you can't.
Times have changed.
Without they have to go back to the new collective bargaining agreement and change stuff. They can't because it's in the documentation that players are allowed to talk to players. I mean, and I don't think that's going to change.
No. The funniest part is that it's like the Lakers are, the Lakers really like Anthony Davis and the Pelicans, and they send him out a text late at night, and they're like, "Hey, what's up, Pelicans? Leave."
Sup?
And then all you see on your phone is red. That's literally what it's like.
Oh man,
The Pelicans, they're
so
having fun right now.
do you guys
They're having
think,
a great time.
Do you guys think by February 7th, 3 p.m., Anthony Davis is a Laker?
No, there's
Joey,
no way.
look at Joey's face. Look at his face.
I don't know.
He's thinking it.
What?
You throw Zubac in there, and we're good.
Listen,
See, I think it's done.
throw in Zubac.
I think it
Plus
gets done.
5. Listen, what kind of absurd deal do you think Magic Johnson is gonna cave in and throw?
Well, I think they'll
at New
settle on
Orleans?
3 first-round picks.
Magic Johnson is in the hottest seat in probably NBA history, to be 100% honest.
Well, this is going to be one of the biggest trade scenarios in NBA history. This is one of the biggest players ever moved in NBA history.
How do you
Because-
think LeBron would react to 4 of his young guys being traded?
He
plus
doesn't
3?
care. He wants
Yeah,
Anthony
he doesn't
Davis. He
care.
doesn't care.
Honestly, yeah, that's
But-
true. Good point.
What do you think they talked about it?
But if Magic Johnson doesn't get this done, what does that say about
and
his,
Anthony goes somewhere else,
his reign and this whole LeBron scenario?
Well, with the Pelicans playing around like this, you
But
can't
no,
really.
no,
get
but-
mad.
but
right.
But here's the
I'm
thing.
just saying,
He
if he
said-
doesn't get it done,
yes, to piggyback on what you're saying right now, Joe.
Well, that is the reason
waited.
why he's there.
Well, here's the thing. Magic waited. He's like, I'm not gonna give stuff up for Paul George because he's coming in the summer. That didn't happen. He
Right, that
struck out
failed.
big time. I'm not gonna give up anything and trade for Kawhi. Sounds like Kawhi wants to go to the Clippers or might stay in Toronto. Another strikeout. If he doesn't give up everything for Anthony Davis, there is a chance Davis does not come to LA, and that is a huge blow to Magic Johnson, and I think does play a huge effect on whether he keeps that job for as long as he might if he completes the trade.
and here's part of it. We talked about Anthony Davis has thrown out a couple more teams that he would prefer to re-sign with.
I think that's just to cover stuff up.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say, is that, he put out the Lakers, Clippers, Bucks, and Knicks as teams that he would potentially re-sign with if he was traded to those. I think that's just one big ploy to get the Lakers to really say, hey, we need to do this, and to make them more involved and to make it look less suspicious, I guess, is to throw other teams. That's why you put 3 big market teams and then the Bucks. Like, the Bucks are a good team, so it makes sense, but
And I think Anthony would like to play with the Bucks this season. It would be more
Right.
fun, and he'd give a chance for a championship.
yeah. But ultimately, he wants to be a Laker.
So Malik saying the deal doesn't get done. Joe, are you saying yes or no?
I actually think that if the deal, I still don't know.
Just say yes or no, Joe.
But I just want to
Joe,
put out
no.
these points that if the deal goes through, I still think the Pelicans are going to end up being better than the Lakers, and the whole Lakers scenario is not going to work out.
If
And-
the trade goes through, do you two think it's the biggest trade in NBA history?
Yes.
Biggest.
It's gonna have to be.
Yes.
And
Not player wise, but I think just
The impact that is going to have over the
impact on
next
the
10, 15
yes.
years.
I also think that it's hilarious if a trade doesn't get done.
Oh, yeah. To me,
I say it gets done.
the ultimate scenario is the trade not happening or the trade going through. And I just lost my train of thought. Let's move on. Never mind.
Well, okay, so I'll just point out real quick. The other thing too that people are starting to talk about and you have to think about is that if this doesn't get done and Anthony Davis doesn't get traded maybe even, and then some crazy thing happens later that he gets traded in the offseason, obviously. And then his contract is up in 2020. If the Lakers, I mean, supposedly he wants to go to the Lakers at that point. But if he doesn't, and even if he does, you just wasted 2 seasons off of LeBron, and that's concerning for a lot of people. And I don't blame him. That's a big concern, is to lose 2 seasons for LeBron on this Lakers team that was supposed to make a quick turnaround. And I don't know. I think it's hilarious, though.
It's an interesting scenario to keep an eye on. And what's funny is during Super Bowl week, everybody was talking about, there was the Porzingis trade, the Anthony Davis stuff going on. The NBA ruled Super Bowl week.
Look at the Pelicans keeping things lighthearted. While all these
Yeah.
Porzingis to Dallas, that ugly ending in New York, Pelicans are like, nah, we're just going to have fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on. I want to get your guys' opinion. There are some kind of rumors going around, but I want to get your guys' opinion on buyers, sellers, players to watch before we jump into anything, or if we don't have time. What players or teams should NBA fans keep an eye on at the deadline?
The Magic.
The Magic?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you say the Magic?
I still think that they're so on the cusp of being a decent team.
Do you think they're a buyer?
I'm happy you said that. That is the perfect description. I'm happy you didn't say on the cusp of a playoff team.
Yeah.
They are on the cusp of being all right.
But in the bottom of the East, that's a playoff team.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on whether they're a buyer or a seller though, because obviously if they can fix their point guard thing, their point guard issue, I think that would be a big help to them, and I think that would push them maybe into that last spot in the playoffs. But if they feel like they can't get that deal done to where they can get a quality starting point guard, I've heard little things about people inquiring about Nikola Vucevic. And that would be really interesting because he would be a great fit for a lot of playoff teams.
I wonder if that's the Lakers' backup plan.
Yeah, I think I've heard that, is that the Lakers maybe would think about that as a...
And I've also heard
backup.
Orlando, because Orlando is very interesting, like you said, because they could either buy or sell. They've had a price out there for Terrence Ross, who's kind of their best bench player. They want a first-round pick for him. There's been offers for 2 second-round picks. That hasn't been enough. So it'll be interesting to see if they sell off some of these guys. Evan Fournier's a name to watch, perimeter player, solid from outside. Jonathan Simmons, he's struggled this year, but he's another player to watch. So it's interesting to see what direction Orlando goes in, especially since they are actually in playoff contention as of right now.
Right.
Malik, who's your team to watch?
I'm hoping the Pistons, but
Let's be.
I'm hoping the Pistons.
Give me a team,
Come on, Mike
not the
Conley.
Pistons. Not the Pistons. Give me a different team.
Phoenix. Phoenix has a lot of assets that aren't adding up to much because it's not really a good mix for a team. 17 small forwards, 2 centers, and a point guard.
Yeah.
They have a lot of talent that can be shipped out, and I think, there could be a move made with Phoenix.
My couple teams for NBA fans to keep an eye on. My Western Conference team, the Utah Jazz. They're on the cusp of that playoff spot as well. I don't know if they're exactly in the playoffs right now. I can actually double check real quick.
Mike Conley to Utah would be a great look for them.
Mike, they've been in talks with Memphis with acquiring Mike Conley, centered around Ricky Rubio, a younger player and a pick. But nothing has come to fruition yet. Yeah, Utah's a 7th seed right now. They're playing really well. I can see them buying on whether it's Mike Conley or one of my players to watch at the deadline, Tobias Harris. What way do the Clippers go? If they think they can get Kawhi Leonard and maybe another player to pair with them, that means they're going to let Tobias walk. So if you kind of have that situation in the back of your mind, do you try to get value for Tobias at the deadline because he's an expiring contract and a B-level player in the NBA at one of the most desired?
I give him B+ right now. He's
Come on. You can't give him B+. You can't.
I give him B+, man. age 17, 18 points a game. That's
That's
plus.
not B plus. That's B.
That's plus. Over 20 is when you get to A minus.
So what's Blake at 25?
Blake is a A player to me.
All right. I just wanted to hear it from my ego, from my Pistons. But yeah, so I think Tobias is an interesting name to watch. Along with that, Drew Holiday. If the Pelicans make a move and ship out Anthony Davis, I'm not sure that Drew Holiday makes it past the deadline. I know they talked about they don't want to trade him, but that's all smoke until the end of the deadline. What do you guys think about that?
I feel like if they get the deal done with the Lakers, that Drew Holiday would be a perfect fit to stay there
Why is that?
because he's still a defender, and I think those young Laker guys need to learn to defend. And if Drew Holiday is somewhat of a leader there, and
I can see your point, yeah.
and maybe you get Rondo back as a leader again,
Yeah.
you know, I think that team could be pretty good, honestly.
To your point, I think it could help mentor that team for years in the future. Yes, Drew might not be there forever. Rondo probably wouldn't be there past the season.
Right.
But it helps put them in the right direction, get them off on the right foot. I like that opinion. Well, who are your players to watch at the deadline? Both of you. You can't give me Anthony Davis.
Right. He's an obvious one. Malik, do you have somebody in mind?
I'm thinking.
Because before I was going to do I think I said it last week, was Damian Lillard, but that's no more now that they got Rodney Hood.
Yeah.
There's no way that that's happening.
Maybe CJ? I'd say CJ is more likely than Dame.
I don't think they make a move now, though.
I don't either.
I think they're locked in again. Man, player to watch. Player to watch.
Come on. It can't be that hard, guys.
I know, but I'm trying to think of a good one.
Yes, thinking of a good one is hard. I'm not just gonna throw out a random player.
All right.
Kyrie
I'm
Irving.
not sure.
I said it.
Stop. Terry Rozier.
That's not exciting.
You want exciting.
That's
Okay.
not exciting.
All right. Well, I'll let Malik think about that. Joey, you think about it too, since you clearly didn't give me a good answer.
All right.
Who are your guys' biggest buyers and sellers here at the deadline? I'll give you mine. Buyer is LA because whether they add Anthony Davis or not, they're
Cop
adding
out.
stuff. Fine.
You called Malik
You're right,
out
you're
earlier,
right.
so
Secondary buyer, the Utah Jazz, adding to that team. Talked about them as a team to watch. They want Mike. They've been linked to Mike Conley, Tobias Harris. They're trying to make a big move to boost this team into the upper echelon of the Western Conference. And my biggest seller, it's Cleveland. They're trying to sell everything. Cleveland, Chicago too. I heard Zach LaVine was in trade offers along with Chris Dunn. They are trying to tear that thing to the very bottom. That's my biggest buyer. My two biggest sellers.
I'm going with Memphis as a seller because they're trying to start this. They're trying to start this rebuilding process, and they're showing it to the rest of the league, shopping their best two players, and I like that. Not sure about. I don't want to say an obvious answer, so I'm not sure about a buyer right
Okay,
now.
Joe.
seller, I would say the Knicks. I think the Knicks are going to try to unload some more pieces. Buyer, I don't know if this is true or not. I haven't even heard anything, but I just feel like the way that they're playing right now and how many different assets they seem to be accumulating just through bench players stepping up is Denver, and that them being one of the better teams in the league right now. I don't think it's going to happen, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they made something happen to maybe make a bigger push for a playoff spot.
Yeah, I can see that, definitely. We have a couple minutes left here, so I do want to finish the show off with something linked to the Detroit Pistons at the deadline here. There's been several reports by Sporting News, ESPN's Zach Lowe, about how the Pistons have been in serious discussions with Memphis on a deal centered around Reggie Jackson and Mike Conley. Mike Conley and Marc Gasol are likely going to be moved at the deadline. Is a Reggie Jackson, Luke Kennard, and a pick enough to get a deal done? Because I think that's kind of the framework of a deal that would get Memphis interested.
I think that's more than enough. You get Reggie Jackson, a guy that will give you quality minutes in Memphis. Luke Kennard, a guy with
And
promising.
It seems like Reggie might be turning the corner a little bit. I'm not back on the Reggie bandwagon. I'm not. I'm
He
not going
has
back
increased his trade value recently.
And I thought it was perfect timing. I'm very happy about that.
In terms of his time in Detroit, it's over. But you put him in Memphis, I guarantee his averages will go up. He'll show a spark that he hasn't shown in a few years.
Maybe he's too lit for Detroit.
Stop.
As far as Luke Kennard,
Stop, Joe.
He can go hang out with Joe
as far
Noah.
as far as Luke Kennard, it's just another player.
No.
Another player you can take a chance on because you're trying to rebuild right now. Whether he works or not, you can just see, and also you have a pick, so that'd be good for Memphis. And
Detroit's pick is really valuable right now.
And I don't think they should give it up.
I don't either.
And I also don't think that they'll get that done because I think there will be better offers from Memphis.
Hot take alert. I think the deal does get done, and it's a framework of something like Reggie Jackson, Luke Kennard, first-round pick, either Stanley Johnson or a Bruce Brown or something like that, or Langston Galloway.
Wow. And then we're stuck even harder.
Because they are trying to build this team during the time frame of Blake Griffin's contract.
there is no rebuilding right now.
No,
Joey.
there's zero change. That's what I'm not saying.
That's true.
Here's the thing. I'm not saying
no
I
rebuilding.
want that trade to happen. I don't want that trade to happen.
With
I'm
Blake
saying
Griffin here, there's
I
no
think
rebuilding.
that's what's going to happen.
I thought that initial offer was bad, but jeez,
telling you, Joe.
Throw in JaMychal Green too.
that's terrifying.
Yeah, I think there'd be another filler coming back to Detroit, but get ready.
Please,
Don't give us Marshawn Brooks.
Every-
Just don't send him here.
everybody in the league, please send Memphis your best offers. Don't let Detroit in this.
I think it's an absolute shocker. I'd be absolutely stunned if the Pistons pass the trade deadline and have their picks still. I'd be shocked.
That sounds so awful.
But you
They
can't. But you can't disagree with me.
They have such a. I know. That's why I'm terrified. They finally have like another solid pick. I know they haven't always turned out, but at least like it's another lottery pick.
But in the situation this franchise is in right now,
It's not like an outside of the top 10 pick.
unless you get a guy that's gonna like change everything right now, it's not gonna make that much.
They could get a top 5 pick though. That I think in this
The
draft,
lottery odds have changed too to make it more likely for teams later in the lottery to have a chance to draw
right?
into
But
the
you
top
still
three.
don't want to be that far out of it,
Yeah.
and like it, they're so close. To, I feel like the top 5 in this draft are really good. It starts to fall off a little bit, but man, that makes me nervous. Trade Drummond and get another pick.
I wish. Well, that's going to do it for our show today. NBA trade deadline primer. We broke down the Super Bowl. We'll be back on the air to break down the NBA trade deadline next week. We'll see you guys next time.
Wisconsin beating Michigan. They let Ethan Happ. That's the worst loss.
Anthony Davis will be traded. Mike Conley will be a Piston
Ethan
next
Happ is
week.
one of